afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. We'll go ahead and get started. Yeah, have a seat. She knows where the comfy chairs are. First and foremost, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming to the first ever Barnes & Noble Mini Maker Faire. We are so beyond excited to have all 3 days worth of events for everybody. We've got some really, really great stuff. But before I talk about any of that, I just wanted to let everybody know what the heck a Maker Faire is. Has anybody ever heard the term Maker Faire before or knows what it is? Used it? Yeah, oh, okay, we got one person. Well, that's one more than we had when we were brought about this. So a Maker Faire, a maker in general, is really simple. It's anybody who makes. So whether that be technology, robots, you think people like Mythbusters who build things and use them and blow them up and do all sorts of really cool stuff like that. But it's more than that. It's a DIY, do-it-yourself type of mentality that people use. Does everybody know what a hacker is? Think of somebody who hacks into like a computer or something like that. Well, hackers aren't just nefarious. Sometimes hackers are people who change something to make it their own. And that's what being a maker is all about. It's about making something to make it your own. So all of the things that we're going to be showcasing, all of the things that we're going to be talking about all weekend are about taking something and making it your own. We do have lots and lots of demonstrations on technology, but I just want to let everybody know that we do have special Meet the Maker presentations going on all weekend. Our first one is at 5 o'clock today on guerrilla videography and citizen journalism, which is going to be really, really fantastic. We're really honored to have the people from HCAM, the Hingham Community Access, come and give that demonstration. So we're really looking forward to that. We're going to have one on building your own computer and why it is not as complicated as it sounds. And then more, and to kind of express why it's not just technology, we have presentations on painting and illustration and other things like that. Even cooking can be making. So we've got a lot of really great things going on. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to get the demonstration going. I'd like you all to welcome Diana. She's going to be doing a demonstration of what you see here. So take it away, Diana. Thank you very much.
So I'm going to be focusing today. Thank you. How is everyone today? Good. Got a quiet group. That's all right. So we have two things we're going to show today. But the first one I'm going to talk about for a while is the Sphero, which is a ball. Let me open it up on here. So the way you wake it up, first of all, you just tap it a little bit and it lights up. I'll put it here. Let it connect. So it can connect to any, basically any device, iPads, iPhones, Android, your computer, anything like that. And I just have the basic app right now, but there's tons of apps that you can get for this, but let me show you what it can do. So basically, it won't break. That's the best part. You can do that. Won't break. It's animal-proof and child-proof. And for starters, it just kind of rolls around. And you can change the color. Pick a color, any color. Want to pick one?
Red.
Red? All right, let's make it, let's see, a little pink. Let's get this. I'm getting it. Oh, I just had it. There we go. And the cool thing about it is that you can actually make your own apps for it. You can make it do anything. There are some apps, I don't have an iPad with me or an Android large device, but you can actually see a video game through your screen while it's using a camera. So it looks like there's bad guys all over the room and you're using the ball to kind of beat them up, which is kind of cool. So you make your surrounding a video game. Your world becomes a video game. And you can make them yourself. So that's kind of cool. It goes up to 4.5 miles per hour, so it goes really fast. Let's try to make it go faster. And in a little bit, I'll have some of you guys try it out, see what happens. It's waterproof too. It actually goes underwater. So I was looking at some videos online. You can put it in fountains, your pool. When it starts doing it at the ocean, you might lose it, but you could. Let's see. They play with each other too, so if you have friends that have one, they interact and you can play games together. And yeah, there's over 50 apps for it, which is kind of cool. All right, so I am actually going to take our Sphero back and I'm going to show you guys Philip. And I'll put him to sleep right here. Let's see if I can get Philip going. Here we go. So this is Philip.
Your service. Say my name. Philip.
So he's actually voice activated. Jonathan over there is kind of like his father. He built him, and that's the coolest thing is you don't just get him in a box looking like this. You get him in pieces, 600 of them to be exact, actually. And they come in 2 sizes. This is the 2-foot one, but he also comes in 4 feet, so he can be pretty big. And he can pretty much do anything. He has over 1,000 different commands that you do with his voice. He can tell you a joke. He can exercise with you. He can dance. He can tell you information. You can ask him questions.
My eyes are blue. I am listening for my name. Philip.
He wants us to talk to him. But a lot of cool things. And we kind of built him into, well, you built him into kind of like a little robot man, but you can even build him to look like a dinosaur, anything. As long as he has those pieces, he can be anything. I don't know if it has the dinosaur on here, does it? No, I was looking at pictures online of all these other things you could build him into. It was really cool. And yeah, he dances, and you program him yourself. Do you want to kind of
Sure.
come on over and ask him to tell a joke or something?
I'll try.
He doesn't really like answering to me.
So, Philip, I named him Philip because he looked like a Philip to me. One of the great things about Philip is he really embodies the idea of making something. You can turn him into whatever you want. This is the simplest form that he has. It's just kind of a nice little humanoid figure. But as Diana was saying, you can turn him into a dinosaur, you can turn him into a car, you can turn him into all sorts of different things. And he is voice activated. As we said earlier, he kind of bonds or recognizes the voice of the person who created him. Which was me. It took a while to build him. So if you're really into building and putting things together and kind of really getting in there, does anybody do any sort of building, that sort of stuff, either at school, anything like
Even
that?
Legos. Anyone here like Legos?
Legos, that sort of
Yep.
stuff. Everybody loves Legos.
It's like cool Legos that you can play with after that talk back to you.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So this is kind of like that. You've all seen those, like the Legos that you can program that have the servos and the arms and everything that go. This is like that, but it's even more. It's completely programmable. It's a little loud in here, so he's not going to hear too well, unfortunately. But I'll see if I can get him to wake up. He likes my voice a little bit better. Philip?
That is my name.
There you go. Okay. Say a joke.
Is this thing on? Wait, of course I am. Why does the human wear glasses in that class? Because it improves their vision.
Oh Lord, did everybody
That
hear
was really
that?
cheesy.
That was bad. Bad Philip. Bad Philip. So not only can he tell jokes, he's pre-programmed to tell the time, to high five, to walk with you, do all sorts of really cool stuff like that. But you can actually also use what's called a learned intelligent move on Philip. I'm going to turn Philip off for a second because he's talking over his master and I don't like that. So what a learn intelligent move is you actually tell him to go into a certain mode, an LIM mode, and when he's in that mode, he lets you move him around. And he lets you kind of move him forward, backwards, raise his arm, lower his arm, do all sorts of really cool stuff. And he'll remember what you're showing him and what you're telling him how to do, and then you get to name that. So if you wanted him to program to, wave at people, I would put him in that mode, lift his arm up, have him wave, put it down, and then I would tell him that means wave hello. And so now, when I would power him on and say, wave hello, he would actually do that motion for there. So that's that kind of creating him your own. That this Mechanoid G15, and like Diana said, this is the 2-foot model. There's a much bigger model that's kind of scary, gives me a little bit of a nightmare, that you can actually also build as well. So it's pretty cool stuff, So. All right, I will turn it back on over.
And again, there's an app for him, so I'm going to try to get him connected. Maybe you guys could play around with him, but let's see, because I did just have it connected to our Sphero. See what happens. I was arguing with him earlier. He really wouldn't listen to me. He likes Jonathan. Let's see. And both of these actually connect through Bluetooth, so all devices today have Bluetooth. So let's see. Connect. All right, looks like you might.
Bluetooth detected. If you want to connect, press yellow button for yes or blue button. Bluetooth connected.
All right, looks like I have it. I do. So you can, and again, this is what Jonathan was talking about over there. Anything he's doing right now, he can remember and keep doing it, but you can also just play around with him and do it. He even counts electric sheep, but I didn't give him the chance to. All right. So that's kind of the two. We got Sphero and we've got Philip, our mechanoid. Kind of wraps it up for today.
So I kind of wanted to talk to you about the snap circuits today. So these snap circuits are kind of little pieces that you can connect to make, you know, things actually work and function on its own. So today I thought it would be cool to kind of introduce a flying saucer element. So I think it would be fun, because as soon as Megan collaborate, we're going to break up into teams. I don't care whoever you want to be a team with. You can create a team name. I'm like looking right at you, man. Like I'm looking at, what is it, Josh? Right? I remembered. Oh gosh, I'm so confused already. I'm already forgetting their names. All right, why don't you come on over? We're going to go into teams. You guys are going to share one of these, and I'm going to explain how we're going to create first a fan. So here's some scissors for you. Guys, got some batteries? Okay, awesome. We are set to go. All right. So basically, we are going to follow a pattern. This is a grid. So the snap circuits are going to go in certain spots here that are kind of labeled. All right, so first, why don't we put this big battery box in here, this little guy. So it's going to go in coordinates. So you see B on the side, and then we have the numbers here horizontally. So we're going to start with, put the battery guy on B4 and then B6 as well. So we have it go there. B4. So many puns you can make, but I'm not going to make them. Too late, I already have. You guys have trouble? You got it? We got it here. Check in. I don't even see the things. Okay, wow. Great. Awesome. Excellent. Excellent. Nice job. Perfect. Awesome. Took you a lot faster than it took to me. I was like staring at Jonathan doing it, and he was like, what are you even doing? All right, so then we're going to take this little blue piece here. Okay, yep, or you can just do it and know exactly what to do. Yeah. Do you want to teach it? We can swap. Sure. Seriously, that would be great. Yep, so you have the blue piece there. Do you have that kind of pressed in? You guys are so much like, so intelligent. Oh, wait, well, we're ready? Okay, so yeah, so you see how, before we take this off, we're actually going to do it. So you see how here there's a positive sign. See how we see the plus? So this affects, yeah, exactly, positive and negative. So it does affect what happens to this little guy here. So we can make so many different things. So we're going to start with a fan first, because I'm kind of hot, and I think it would be kind of, I'm just kidding. I mean, like, we could do a fan first. So why don't we put, all right, let me show you here. So the positive side, we're actually going to have it on B3 here. And then the negative side just on the blue piece. Okay? Yep. So the positive side is on where the battery is, and the other side is on the blue piece.
See if this wait, is this gonna launch?
Ready? Are you ready? Hang on. Okay. Everybody good? So we're gonna do a light push. We'll see what happens, then we're gonna let it go, and we'll see if I tricked you and this is actually a flying saucer, if this is a fan. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's a fan. Oh, we had a flying saucer. 5. Nice job.
We work at Hingham Community Access and Media. We're the local cable station in town. So educational, public, government, we film all of that stuff around town. But we also offer training courses, and the class or the session that we're doing today, guerrilla videography, is actually part of our training program. We offer training 4 times a year. Some classes are taught at the Hingham Public Library, some classes are taught at our station. We're actually down the street by the industrial park. So this is one of the classes, and it's guerrilla videography. Does anybody know what that is?
Is it like kind of like the thing that Jane Goodall does, like they video goes?
No. So guerrilla videography is, yeah, that's a good, because the name, I actually would have said that if I didn't know what. Yeah, if I didn't know what guerrilla videography was, I'd been like, yeah, that's exactly. Guerrilla videography actually just means taking videos with your phone.
On the go.
On the go, exactly.
I
That's
never would have gotten that.
Yeah, no, me neither. When I didn't know what it was, and I actually learned about this class at a conference that I did in New Hampshire, and they were like guerrilla videography. I was like, I have no idea what that is, and he was like,
it's like guerrilla, like guerrilla warfare.
Exactly.
exactly. That's exactly what it's spelled like. So it's not the GOR, it's GUERR. Right.
So it's like sneaky videography.
Right.
Exactly. I like that. But it is true because the other name for it is backpack journalism is what it's referred to a lot. And when you're a backpack journalist, you kind of are in the midst of every time I think of that, I think of like protests and people with their phones and then they edit it and make it a piece and they send it to Fox or ABC. So that's what it is. It's just making videos with your phone. So the first tip is do not film vertically, because clearly it's not necessarily the best thing to do. So yeah, I just thought that was kind of a funny video to start off with. But I kind of want to just talk about how you can utilize guerrilla videography, or what the importance is of guerrilla videography, and how you can make your body a tripod. I remember hearing that in the conference that I went to and thinking well, yeah, you just kind of hold it like this, but you don't think about, if you're doing a professional video or if you're a journalist and you want it to air on Fox, ABC, whatever it is that you're filming for, you don't really think about the shakiness, or you want the quality to be good. So here are some of the tips that I learned when I did this conference. So you can use your arm as a tripod along with your body, and all you have to do is hand placement. It's all about hand placement. So instead of holding like this, because your arm gets tired and you're kind of in everybody's way, you're just gonna bend your hand and your arm and you're gonna hold your phone like this. And it does not get tired. I've actually filmed an entire concert like this, and it sounds funny and it sounds weird, and you're like, I'm not gonna stand like that because I look like an idiot. No, you don't. It's very good. You don't shake. And if you get tired, you can always hold it like this. You can actually pan like this. It also, you can, as far as your body is concerned, if you need to crouch, if you're ever in a protest, I don't know why you would ever be in a protest, but you just don't know. If you exactly, you could be a radical on the weekends. I don't know. But
Yeah, exactly.
you were Batman for Halloween,
I was just gonna say.
Bruce Wayne. Hi,
That's just one of my many.
But you can crouch down and use your legs, and it's the whole point of guerrilla videography, is using what you have. Who owns an iPhone? That probably should have been the first question, or a smartphone. Okay, wonderful. That's okay.
I think I'm the only one in my school that has a slide.
No, that as long as your phone takes video, you can do guerrilla videography. So you don't have to have an iPhone or an iPod. Exactly. So, and you don't need an iPhone. You can have a Droid. You can have a slide phone. You can have a flip phone. I just taught my dad how to take video. He has an ancient phone, and I was like, Dad, your phone takes video. He was like, No, it doesn't. I'm like, No, but it does. So it's great. But as long as it takes video, you can do guerrilla videography. But my point about the iPhone is Apple actually has made products that have actually helped people become independent filmmakers using their phones. So they sell lenses. Ben, who's also part of HCAM, he's filming. Say hi, Ben. They sell individual lenses that you can buy that can enhance your video and your filming. If you have the Apple headphones, they have a built-in microphone. I actually think I have a pair. I can pull those out later. But there's a little bar in the middle of your headphones, and
I wonder how this works. People are my dad is in the middle of conferences at home all the time, and he'll talk in headphones.
yeah. So
walking around doing it.
yeah, and what used to be when they used to make the headphones, when Apple used to make the headphones, that used to be just a volume controller.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah, and they put in a built-in microphone because for that reason people were like, this is awesome, and the sound quality is actually pretty awesome. I've interviewed someone, and if you're interviewing someone, let's say you are a journalist and all you have are a pair of headphones and a phone, which I feel like we all kind of travel with on a day-to-day, you plug it in and you hold the phone, and as long as we're in distance of each other, you wear the headphones, the sound quality is phenomenal, and we could just be sitting next to each other and you would never know that I'm using headphones. I mean, you can tell, but you would never know that the headphones are giving that kind of sound quality. So that takes care of the microphone, but they do sell individual microphones that you can plug into the phone. They're really little, and you put it into the headphone jack, and you just hold it like this so that it's not as obvious. The only thing about that is you're gonna have to have some sort of other phone to film.
You can't really film with
That's the only other thing. And I've noticed that filmmakers do a lot. They use a phone as a microphone, and then they use a phone to film. Actually going to show you towards the very, very end, there was an entire car commercial filmed on the iPhone 5S and edited on the iPad. And when I saw it, I was like, no, they're lying. Like, no way this entire commercial was filmed on an iPhone. They showed the behind the scenes. Everything was filmed on an iPhone. They used what you were just talking about. They also use this. This is Ben's. This is a grip pod. And it's to actually help out with the shakiness. So you put the phone in. I really don't know how to use it because Ben just handed it to me. There we go, yeah. So you put your phone in and it actually holds it for you, and you just hold the...
Or that way, if you want to walk away from your phone, you can place it on the table.
You literally just hold it like this. And I mean, it depends. I mean, technically it'd be like this. But selfies are in these days, so, you know, like...
Selfie stick is another device you use.
Yeah, the selfie stick. There we go. Some other tips that are really, really simple, but come into play really, actually a lot. If you're interviewing somebody, and you're kind of in a dark place, let's say, again, the journalist, I feel like the journalist thing is gonna come up a lot because those are the people that utilize this the most. If you're in a dark area, the flash on your phone, if you turn it on while you're filming, that actually projects light, because it's a flash, but it acts as your light source. So if you are outside and it's pitch black like it is right now, and there are no street lamps, you can use your flash. And it might look a little funny, but you at least have footage you can use. On the new camera, I have the iPhone 6S, you can white balance, but we tried it with Ben, he has the 6, you can white balance on his. Does anybody know what white balance is? Okay, so white balance is what you do before you go into filming. Jenny probably knows a lot more about this because she's a videographer, but you focus on a white space, so it balances the color of your shot. So you focus on a white space, you double tap on the screen. Actually, let's see if I can show you. So you take your phone, I'm gonna go into video mode. So you wanna focus on a white surface. This is probably not the best, but yeah, or on the mouse. So I just wanna show the screen though. So once you get your white surface, you double tap, and you should see that little the yellow box. And it's actually adjusting the color so that when I direct it to my subject, the color isn't off balance.
So if you think about it, if you're outside in the sun versus inside, and you're filming back and forth, you want to make sure if you're outside in the sun, you come inside, it might look a little blue when you come inside. So to make sure that you're not like washing everybody out, you can white balance.
Yep, so then there's that, and then the selfie stick, as much as some people really hate it, it's actually become really useful, and they use it almost kind of like, what do they call them in the movies, like a rig? They've kind of used it, you know what I mean? Like it extends so you get great shots and you can utilize it for wide shots. And so as much as selfie sticks are not the greatest, they are useful if you're into this kind of stuff. Do you guys have any specific questions before we get further into this? Anything you'd like to know or like you're curious about?
Well, it's just kind of...
How do you think of good panorama? Mine are always awful.
Panorama? Okay, so I'm actually not that good at those either, but I'm getting better. Practice makes perfect. Exactly. The thing with panorama, which is more, that's more for photo, but that's still a good question because it's a function on the iPhone. You have to go really, really slow. And you always want to know ahead of time before you take it what you're trying to capture in the middle, because that's the clearest part of the panorama. So like, let's say my focus is you guys, I'm gonna make sure that I start off far enough on this side that when I move, this will be my middle shot and I can still end here. Does that make sense? Because if you move too fast or if you start too soon, you guys are gonna be shifted to the side and that's gonna be my center.
I would say too, that's a good time to use your arm as a tripod.
Yeah, that's a perfect time to use.
Hold your camera this way, you can go like this to make sure that, you know, when you get it, it's not shaky.
What was your question?
Oh, no, I was just going to say that I think it's pretty interesting because, like, if I'm trying to film a concert, usually I would, you know, do it vertical. And then with that presentation that you guys just did, you realize that when you're, like, filming something vertically, you're missing kind of what's on the other side. Like
Yeah.
you're seeing it through your phone. And so now that I know to do it horizontal, I can see it through the phone, but also see it.
Yeah, it's exactly. And and besides the tips on how to make it easy and how you can do it yourself from home, as long as you have a phone, you really can do this. It's becoming, one of the pros that I have listed is that it's the most inexpensive way to do a film. And the other example that we had was there was a documentary called, what's it called? Searching for Sugar Man. Anybody seen it? It's about the musician, I'm gonna forget his name.
Did they call him Sugar Man though?
They called him Sugar Man, but he was this musician and they started doing it, and it was an independent documentary. And so independent documentaries, you need to get funding and they're expensive. They ran out of funding and they had like a quarter of the documentary still to film. They filmed the rest of the documentary on an iPhone. And I thought that was so genius because everybody owns a phone. And as long as you know how to position your shots, when you're doing an interview, making sure that there's enough space between the head and the top of the shot and that, your head's not here and all this space is over here. As long as you know how to compose a shot and you know how to press record, you can do it, And so it's inexpensive. A lot of people are doing it. I feel like a lot of, like I said, independent filmmakers, a lot of people who have money, the commercial we're going to show you, I think it's a Benz. It's a Bentley.
Yeah.
It's a Bentley. These people have the money to spend on a commercial, but they did everything on an iPhone. And then how to edit it is, besides filming on an iPhone, any sort of smartphone, even Droid has this option. You can download editing apps. If you have the iPhone 6s, that actually already comes with iMovie, just because they have a free version, they have one you can pay for, but I think it was one of their most used apps on the iPhone, so they made it free. And they've already downloaded it for you. There's also movie apps you can use that will enhance the filming process, where it actually white balances for you automatically, and it'll give you options to that will help you when you're filming, that a normal camera won't do. And I will say the one thing, I'm an Apple user, so I'm all for Apple. The one thing I will say is that it's very easy to go from device to device. So if, let's say you were a filmmaker, you were a journalist, and you were filming and editing on just portable things, you can't bring your laptop everywhere. If you're on the go all the time, you need somewhere to charge something really quick. That's the great thing about Apple, is that you could film on the phone and everything through iCloud would be directly on your iPad. So that is the good thing about an Apple product, but this is guerrilla videography. You can do it with any kind of phone if it takes video. So.
Hello everybody, thanks for coming. My name is Jonathan Hickey. I actually work at Barnes & Noble here, and we're going to be talking a little bit about building your own computer and why that is not nearly as complicated as that sounds. Before I even start, has anybody built a computer or done anything with building a computer or parts or anything like that? Nobody? All right, then that's really good, because then I can start right from the beginning. You what? You built a phone? That's pretty cool. I haven't even built a phone, so I bow to you on that one. Building a computer is really, really simple. And before I get into all of the bits and pieces of it, I just want to explain why would you build a computer? What's the benefit of doing it this way, this cacophony of mess here, versus just going to Apple or just going to Dell and having them build the computer for you? And there are a number of reasons. First and foremost, the main reason why I like to do it is because it's fun. This is a really easy way to kind of put something together with your own hands that you made, that you can control what goes in it, and it's yours. You don't have to worry about, somebody in the Dell warehouse doing something wrong or in the Apple warehouse doing something wrong. You own it, it's yours, and there's a real sense of doing something, an accomplishment that comes from building your own computer, which is really fantastic. The second reason to do it is it's a lot less expensive. It's a lot cheaper to build your own computer. The computer that I have, and this is an older computer that I built a little while ago, when I first built it, it was considered pretty near the top in terms of its performance and its capabilities, its speed, its storage capacity. Now it would be considered a little bit on the lower end of things, but at the time it only cost me about $600 total to build it, and that's for a top of the line. That's not your Dell computer that you just get, you know, in your school or your work environment. So it's a really inexpensive way to put it all together, get something that works really great, and get to do it all yourself. So the first thing that I'm going to say before I dive right into this is I just want everybody to know that I work for Barnes & Noble. I was a music major in college, and the reason why I say that is because I have no technical background whatsoever. I have not taken a single computer class in my life, and it is not a requisite to this. If you can put together Legos, everybody play with Legos? I play with Legos, yeah. If you can put together Legos, you can put together a computer. All right, so I'm going to jump right on in. There are 5 main components to a computer that are really important, that make everything go. The first is the motherboard. It's the most difficult and most complicated looking piece of it all, but it's actually not. It's just a lot of small print, so it looks intimidating. The motherboard is where everything sits. So you're plugging in or connecting, either physically or by a wire, everything in your computer to this motherboard. If this goes, your computer doesn't do anything. It won't turn on. It'll just go, and then you got nothing. You might get some smoke coming up. I've done that. There are various components to the motherboard, but the great thing about building your own computer is you only really need to know about a few of them. You don't need to worry about all these little nodules and all these little fixtures that may or may not do anything that you have any involvement in. So after the motherboard, the second most important thing is your processor. This is the brain of the computer. It's a processor chip. There's a few different kinds, and you'll see it's got a little bit of a kind of a cream on the top of it. That's thermal paste. It's to keep it cool. So as you can imagine, a lot of electricity is going through here. It gets pretty hot. You don't want it to melt. Thermal paste. Don't touch it, because as I just did, it gets on you and then it doesn't go away. After the motherboard and your processor, you've got the memory, the storage. So the motherboard is the body. This is your brain. This is the storage. This is where everything is stored on your computer. Now there's 2 types of hard drives that I have here. The first one is a more modern type. It's called a solid state drive. That means that there's no moving parts in here. So it's a lot faster. It's also a lot smaller, as you can see. Otherwise, they work exactly the same. They store all your data, all your pictures, all your programs, and everything like that gets stored on those. And then our old school hard drive. These are the big ones that actually have the spinning discs that when you turn on your computer in here, go vroom. That's what this is. This is what's making that sound. Again, same kind of idea as this. It's just a little bit bigger. It actually has mechanical parts, which does mean it wears out a little bit more, but they work the same. And then last but not least, the most important thing, in my opinion, to get really well on a computer is RAM. Has everybody heard of RAM before? You know what RAM is? Do you know what RAM means? Your head came up. Anybody know what RAM stands for?
I know what it stands for, but like processing power.
Sort of, yeah. It's think of it like fuel. This is your computer's fuel. So RAM stands for random access memory. So as opposed to the memory on the hard drive, which is kind of implanted in whatever it might be, whatever picture you put on there or program you put on there, RAM is for random stuff. So this is what handles as you're clicking along and you're going through Internet Explorer, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I want to listen to music, and you pull up your music player. RAM is what allows you to have both of those things going at once, because there's enough resources, there's enough fuel on your computer in order to handle that. So RAM is very important. And those are the 5 main parts. If you have those 5 parts to a computer, you're done. You can put it all together and have a computer that works really well. There are a couple of other things that you'll see here that are kind of extraneous. They don't necessarily have to be on there, but they will make it work a little bit better. The first is a graphics card. Woo! They're pretty big. Graphics cards are often used for people who want to play a lot of games, or people who want to do a lot of things with like video processing or pictures or anything like that. So having a good graphics card is really, really useful if you plan on doing any of those things. If you're just surfing the web, typing, and emails and all that sort of stuff like that, you probably won't need one. But you'll notice, you see how it has these plugs on the side right here? You'll notice on, as I pull this up, this machine right here, we've got a similar outlet there. That's because your motherboard already has that outlet. So if you didn't want to have that, you can use what's called onboard video from your motherboard, and that will take care of it. So it's not necessary, but it is helpful. I'm just going to plug this back on in. And then last but not least, there are other things. They're called peripherals. They're, extraneous things that you might want to put on there. This is to get connected to the internet. It's a little thing, plugs right on in, so you can plug it right on in there. But have a seat, guys, if you want to. Yeah. Oh, sure, absolutely. So, does anybody have any questions on any of the stuff that I've talked about so far? Does anybody want to come up and pick up and see anything? Yeah, come right on up. So this is the motherboard. You want to hold that? Just hold it gently. There's all sorts of different things. Anybody else want to check any of this stuff out? Go for it. Just be careful if you touch the thermal paste. So some older computers don't have internet access built into them. So let me see if this one does. This is an older machine. Oh, this one does. It had one. But a lot of them don't have that. And so as a result, you have to go out and buy a little card that will actually allow you to plug that internet in, so you can do that.
Are you going to be building the computer?
I am going to try to put it together. Yes, we will see. We'll see how it goes. It should be pretty good. So there's lots of really, really neat stuff. So I say we go ahead and start putting this together. What do you guys think? Yeah. Pretty good idea? All right, let's start putting this together. So we've got two different computers here. So I'm going to do the one that I know will work. I think will work, I hope will work. So we're going to start with this. So the first thing that we want to add to our motherboard, and you'll notice I don't have a case. You don't need one. It's a good idea, but you don't need one. It's just a place to hold it all in. It's your bread box. You can leave your bread sitting on your counter, but it might get moldy. You can leave your computer sitting on a desk. It's going to get dusty. But for a few minutes, it shouldn't be a problem. So when you're installing things, everything is foolproof. You cannot install things the wrong way. If you feel like you're really pushing on something, stop, because that is not how it's designed. It's like Legos. If you're really cramming a Lego in there, you got to have something wrong. So if you take a look, you'll see on this processor, it's got a little arrow right there. That arrow is what I want to line up with on this motherboard. Here, come on over. On this motherboard, see how there's a little arrow right there? That's where I want to line it up. And you'll see how there's no pins on the corner there? There's no pins on the corner here. So what I do is I make sure that this is lifted up. See how it shifts it aside? I lift up the lock. I put it in. It falls right in. I don't have to push. I don't have to jam it. And then I just push that down until it locks into place. My processor is installed right now. If I were to boot this up right now with everything else hooked up, this would start to smoke and I would be out about $60. Probably more as the rest of it started to fail as well. So that's why we add what are called heat sinks. Now heat sinks come in all different shapes and sizes. They have all sorts of different things that they do. But a basic heat sink is going to have some sort of metal with these flanges, these spaced pieces of metal that is going to absorb and dissipate the heat so that it doesn't overheat. Now you'll see this is a more modern style that has an actual fan built into it. The older styles were much bigger, much bulkier, and really relied on a lot more metal to do the job. Copper is an excellent resource for this. It dissipates heat really well, and that's why they used it. So the bigger, older machines are going to have big, clunky heat sinks. The smaller ones, the more modern ones, can do it equally well with a smaller one and a fan. You'll also notice that these have the thermal paste on them as well. That is a really, really important thing to have. So let's see if I can put this up. Now there's all sorts of screws that I normally would be putting in place, but I'm not going to for this time. So what I want to do is, you see how this heat sink has these little squares right here on both sides? There are little squares on that. Yeah. Get them so that they go in and they're locked like that. And then you want to angle this so that the plug matches with the plug that we're going to be plugging this in. See how this says CPU fan? CPU is another word for your processor. It stands for Central Processing Unit. So I want to make sure that I'm not doing it this way, because then I have to drag my cord over the fan, which is going to make it not as good. Yes, exactly. So for the sake of this, I'm not going to worry too much about it, and you just plug it in. And there it goes, and it sits right on top of there. Pretty cool. Step one done. Step 2 is installing the RAM. Now, installing the RAM is really, really easy. I'm actually going to have one of you, I'll have one do one and one do the other. Absolutely, you can do the first one. So if you take a look at the RAM, see how there's a line and then a gap and then a line?
Yeah.
If you take a look here, there's a line and then a gap and then a line. All you do is make sure that the little hooks on the end are pushed out, and you line it up in the slot, and you push. And it's not really going in. So I take it, I flip it around. Let's see if I have a little bit better luck. Boom, there it goes. Again, if you start to push and you're like, just stop. It's perfectly okay. And then to unload it, you just pull that out, and out it comes. Easy peas. It's delicate, but it's not going to break if you give it a little bit of pressure, so you don't have to worry about like it snapping in half. You just don't want to bend it over your knee. Exactly, exactly. So do you want to install this piece? Yeah. All right. So it goes in this way. So you just line it up in these little slots. Yep, you got it. And then, yep. And then just give it a gentle but firm push straight down, like on both sides, right here and here. Yep. There you go. Perfect. One in. That's enough. If we didn't want to add more resource, add more fuel to this, we don't have to. It's just going to make everything faster. So if you've ever clicked on a computer program and it opens, and then you're like, oh, I want to click on another one, and you're like, you make yourself a cup of tea, you make a sandwich, you watch your favorite show, you come back, oh, hey, it's open. That's because your RAM is either not fast enough or you don't have enough. So we're going to add the second one just because, why not? So who wants to install this one? You want to do this one? All right. I don't know which way it goes. I think it goes this way. Yep. So just make sure that, yeah, we'll put it in the yellow one. There are some differences between the yellow and red, but
If they're next to each other, wouldn't it make it a little bit faster?
that is I don't know if you realize how smart of a question that is. That's a very smart question. All right, so all you want to do is make sure you push it straight down, and then it'll automatically close. You don't actually have to touch any of these. You just pop them up and push straight down, and they'll close on their own. Pretty cool.
If they were far apart, they wouldn't.
Yeah, so you see how these are the same color. These are actually, this is probably a little bit more complicated than I anticipated going into, but since you asked, I will go into it. RAM can function two different ways, singly or in a dual state, a dual channel, DUAL channel. So these reds, the red and the orange, or yellow I guess that is more, represent the types of channels. Those are the two pairings. So the two yellows together will function as dual, and the two reds together will function as dual. So if I had a third and I put it in the red slot, the two yellows would work faster than they would alone, and the red would work the normal speed. And if I put another one in the red, it would work equally as fast. If I took this out and put it in the red, my whole machine would get slower, because I'm not using it in dual mode. It's using both in single. That's a really great question, and I'm very impressed that you mentioned that. That's not a normal question I get. So, now that my RAM is installed, I've got my resources, I've got this, I've got that. The next thing that we're going to install, I guess, is going to be the hard drive. So this is a solid-state drive. The way solid-state drives connect is a little bit different than a normal drive wheel. So if you take a look at the bottom here, it's got these power, and it's got different connectors and all that sort of stuff that are in there. That's what kind of sends the power to the drive and also sends the information to your computer. With these, unless I am mistaken, and I don't believe I am, these actually can draw power directly from this type of cable. This type of cable is called a SATA cable. It stands for Serial ATA. Don't ask me what ATA stands for. I don't know, but it sounds cool. It's a much faster, much better way of doing things than the old, big, clunky styles of doing things. You'll notice that as computers, we all see this with our phones and everything like that, so everything just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. One of my favorite stories is when Steve Jobs was first inventing the iPod. So this is back, they handed it to him, and he took it and he dumped it in a fish tank. And there were bubbles that came out, and he looked at the designer and he said, those bubbles mean there's space in there that you can get rid of. And so he wanted it smaller and smaller and smaller. So can you imagine being that developer though? Just be like, ah! So what we do, I know, right? So if you take a look at these connectors, you see how there's a line and a hook? It's like a little L shape. And you'll see that this has a similar style. That's how they match. And they go right in like that. And again, you don't have to push too hard. You just push hard enough that it stays in place there, okay? And then you match it up with here. Now you see on the fine print here, it says it's like SATA 01, SATA 2, SATA 3, SATA 4. That's just for your reference if you ever needed to, like, oh, if it, you know, you got a message on your computer saying SATA 1 cable fail. That's so you would know where it is. It does not matter which one you plug this into. So I'm going to plug this into this one. And again, it's all about connecting things the only way they'll connect. So I'm going to push it down. There it is. Hard drive connected. Boom. Easy piece. I'm not going to connect this hard drive, which is probably going to give me an error message when I plug in, but my operating system's on that one, so it shouldn't matter. Last but not least, I don't know if I talked about this earlier. This is a really important piece. This is your power, okay? And it's a big, clunky thing. They haven't really gotten much smaller over the years. There's only really so small that you can get because so much energy is being pushed through this, so much electricity. They need a big fan for it to really keep it cool. So this is your power. This is an older type of PSU, is what it's power supply unit, is what it's called. And it's 550 watts. For 90% of computers, that's more than enough than you will need for anything like this. Most computers that you buy in your school or your work, 3 to 350. They don't require a lot of power. What really requires a lot of power is this guy. So that's why I bought this, because he by himself will take about 150 of that on its own, way more than any other single part on there, including the processor, which is the brains of the unit. So this is what's called, wires upon wires, what's called a modular setup. What that means is the basics are always there. These are the ones that will plug into my motherboard and all the necessary components. But if I wanted to add more plugs for like fans or lights or do something cool, like, you know, you see those cars that have the lights on the bottom. If you wanted to really trick out your, you know, PC, I mean, people make amazing things out of these. They're like Darth Vader things, all sorts of crazy stuff. That's where you would do it. And you'll see here, if I needed more, I would just take this, and again, it only goes in one way, and now I have some extra stuff that I can play with. But I don't need that for now, so I'm going to take that off. Okay, so now we're going to provide some power. Now, I'm going to put this over here. So there are two things that we need to plug in. I'm going to have you plug one in, and then either one of you can plug in the third. So you're going to plug in the most important part right here. Come on over here. This monster pin, 24 pin thing, is what's going to go in here. Now what's important before you just kind of throw it in there is you've got to match. You see how some are square and some have like a little house like, you know, thing on the top of them? You want to line it up. So you see how this is a top square and then it's got the shaved edges? If you were to go like this, you need to make sure you have a top square and shaved edges. Okay, does that make sense? Go ahead and plug that in. It'll only go one way, not a lot of pressure. And then just listen to it snap. You'll hear it. Yep. Didn't snap, but I think you got it. Yep, I think you got it. Like I said, it's old, so it might not be snapping in place. Perfect. Excellent. Well done. And then the last thing that we need to plug in, just because it's way more fun to do it with this than anything else, is going to be our graphics card. Thank you. So this, again, only goes one way. I think it's this way. Do you want to plug it in? All right. So you're going to plug it in right there. Go up a little bit more. Yep. There you go. Does it not go in? Okay. Flip it around. Here, let's take a look here. So we want square on top. So you see how we have square on top, square on top? Yeah. We're going to do that and line it up, and now give it a push in. There you go. Excellent. Well done. All right. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to have this on its side so that the fan can blow. We're going to have this, I don't know, right around here somewhere. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Actually, see, that was a faulty move on my part. This actually needs to connect to our computer. So the way that you connect, you see how this has a short little thing and then a long? This is what's called PCI, I don't know what that stands for either. PCI Express is basically the way it's called. It's a little bit fancier. And those fit into these, you got it, exactly, these blue ones right here. And again, it'll only go the one way. There's no way to do this the wrong way, because as soon as you try, it's just going to be like, no.
Why did computers seem so thinner?
Every generation, they get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. That's just the way it goes. It's really cool in some ways, but it can make things really complicated if you're trying to get in there and look. If I take these off, I'm like, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what the heck's going on in there? All right, I think we are almost ready to try to see if this works. I mean, it'll totally work, definitely. What? I'm not worried. All right, so one last thing I'm going to talk about before I hit the power button is this guy right here. Now, this is the front of a computer case. You might recognize like the way it looks. Exactly. The only reason I have this here is because this button that's on the front here is what gives it the signal to turn on. And so that I already had pre-plugged in. I'll show this to you guys, since you guys are such a really cool crew. You guys will like this. So yeah, it's really tiny. But if you look down on the bottom here, see this writing here? Yeah. See how it says like plus PW minus? That means power plus minus. So in electricity, there's positive and negative wires that you need to make sure are correct. So the way this is set up is, this actually says reset switch. That's because totally not my fault whatsoever. I flipped them. That wasn't my fault at all. But you see how this has a little arrow pointing right there? That tells me that it's the, it's really tiny, but it's a little tiny arrow. That tells me that's the positive. The other way I know is that the white is always the ground. The white is always the negative, and the color is what will give you the actual charge. So all I do is line it up. Now, if you look on this red button right here, you see how there's, in one of them, there's like a cross, like a plus sign? That tells me that that's the positive hookup. Hopefully. I push it in right there, and life is good. So now I have my button hooked up, I have my power supply hooked up, I have my graphics card hooked up, I have my hard drive. Yep, doing well. I've got this. We'll see if it fries, and we should be in good shape. Now, last but not least, we need to hook everything up. So this cable right here hooks up to our, I'm just trying to flip this around without it going too crazy. Whoops. Yeah, thank you. This is going to hook up right into here, into this port. And again, we match it up. It'll only go one way. We'll see what happens. Okay. And then we've already got the plug powered in for the monitor. Right? Yep. It's orange. So now we're going to do the same thing with the power supply. Oh yeah, if you want to. Thank you. This is like the greatest crew ever. You guys are like so helpful. All right. So one of three things is going to happen when I push this button. The first, and what we hope is that you'll start to see everything hum and twirl and spin, and everything will be great. You will see the screen light up, and then we'll be brought to the home screen. Okay? 2, nothing. Nothing will happen. And that means something is wrong, something is crossed, something is weird here. Or 3, we'll start to see smoke, we'll all yell a lot, the sprinklers might go off, but otherwise we'll be okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip this to the on position. So now power is coming from here into this. And who wants to be the test dummy? You wanna do it? Give that a good solid push. All right, let go. Okay.
Yep, it's green.
Oh, green,
Oh.
green.
Green.
Yes.
Green.
Yeah.
Easy peas. We got it. So now what it's doing, yeah, so basically what it's saying is that the hard drive is not functioning properly, but that's okay. That doesn't matter. We got it. So at this point, what I would do is basically what we just did with this, troubleshoot, back up a step, go forward, back up a step, go forward, see if something else is happening here that might be causing this to not work properly. But otherwise, that's all there is to it. You put this in a case and you've got it. Questions, comments, concerns? No smoke, so I count that as a moral victory. But there you go.
This is awesome. Thanks.
So absolutely. So just keep in mind, you putting together a computer, you're making a trade-off of you keep a lot more of your money and you invest a little bit of your time. You do a little bit of troubleshooting, you figure it out, and you've got a computer that's way better than anything that you could get off a shop at Staples or wherever, and that you made and that you own and you have. So it's a really cool thing. Yep, I actually started doing this in college just for like money to like go out and do fun stuff, and it ended up being something that I really liked. So yeah. So all right. Well, thank you everybody. Thank you for coming.